As Zeranath stepped into the grand entrance of the Galactic Library, his senses were immediately flooded with an overwhelming tranquility. The vast vaulted ceilings, composed of a shimmering material that emulated the sky outside, stretched endlessly above him, punctuated by bright, swirling nebulae and distant star clusters. The massive doors behind him sealed with a gentle hiss, isolating the serene environment within from the bustling activity of the universe outside. The central hall was a vast expanse, filled with beings from countless worlds. Soft murmurs echoed through the space, punctuated by the gentle hum of terminals and the quiet footsteps of visitors. Floating platforms carried groups of scholars between aisles, while translucent screens projected holographic texts and diagrams into the air. In the midst of all this activity, a colossal holographic tree spread its branches wide, its trunk anchored in the heart of the hall. From each branch, luminescent leaves of knowledge dangled, each representing a unique planet's contribution to the universe's collective understanding. Zeranath made his way towards one of the terminals, his teal-hued skin reflecting the ambient light of the surroundings. His long fingers gracefully danced over the controls, accessing his assignment details. A gentle chime sounded, and a soft voice from the terminal greeted him. "Welcome, Librarian Zeranath." Zeranath responded, his voice smooth and calm. "Access assignment details for the Earth retrieval." The screen before him shimmered, revealing information about Earth. A blue and green orb, cloud patterns drifting lazily over vast continents and deep oceans. Zeranath gazed at it, momentarily captivated by its vibrant beauty. A nearby scholar, noticing Zeranath's admiration, floated over on a slender platform. This being, composed of swirling lights contained within a translucent form, communicated in a symphony of harmonious tones. Zeranath's translator immediately converted the harmonies into words. "A stunning planet, isn't it? One of the newer additions, if I'm not mistaken." Zeranath nodded, his eyes still locked onto the representation of Earth. "Indeed. It's my next assignment. Every planet has its unique charm, but there's something particularly captivating about this one." The scholar emitted a series of luminescent pulses, which translated to gentle laughter. "Ah, the spirit of a true librarian. Every world is a new story waiting to be read. May your journey to Earth be insightful." Zeranath bowed slightly, a universal gesture of respect. "Thank you. Knowledge is the beacon that guides us, after all." The scholar floated away, returning to their studies, while Zeranath delved deeper into his terminal, preparing for the journey ahead, the silhouette of Earth etched into his thoughts. Glasu's office stood out amidst the vastness of the library, marked by an ornate archway that shimmered with ever-changing cosmic patterns. The walls inside were a living canvas of shifting colors, resonating with the frequencies of gathered knowledge from across the cosmos. Dominating the space was a massive, curved desk, atop which floated a myriad of holographic screens, displaying data streams from countless civilizations. The Galactic Library Supervisor, or Glasu as the title had been abbreviated, was an imposing figure. Comprising a tall, statuesque form draped in robes that seemed woven from the fabric of the universe itself, Glasu emitted a calm aura. Deep-set eyes, which held galaxies within them, looked up as Zeranath entered.
"Ah, Librarian Zeranath."
Glasu's voice resonated, deep and melodious, echoing the age and wisdom of countless eons.
"I trust you've had a glimpse of your next assignment."
Zeranath approached the desk, his posture slightly more rigid in the presence of such authority. "I have, Supervisor. Earth. A new edition. Its beauty is quite captivating."
Glasu's eyes shimmered with a knowing glint. "Beauty indeed, but as you are well aware, our purpose is not merely to admire. The history of each planet its truths and its factual past, is what we seek to preserve. Earth, despite its allure, might challenge your expertise.
Xerath, not one to be easily daunted, tilted his head in curiosity. A challenge, Supervisor. Are there anomalies in the records? Glasu leaned back, the galaxies in their rise swirling more rapidly.
Not anomalies per se. The data we've received is vast, but there seem to be inconsistencies. Gaps and overlaps in events, figures who appear in multiple accounts, with different roles or perspectives.
Zeran's brows furrowed, his confidence slightly shaken. That's unusual. Contradictions in historical records suggest errors in data transmission or retrieval. Our systems are designed to prevent such occurrences. Glasu nodded, their fingers tapping a rhythmic pattern on the desk.
Precisely. Our systems are impeccable, which leads me to believe the discrepancies may be originating from Earth itself. You'll need to exercise caution and diligence, Xerath.
Understanding dawned on Xerath. You suspect they've mistakenly sent inaccurate or incomplete records. I'll ensure a thorough cross-referencing once I'm on site. Glasu rose, moving to the vast window that offered a panoramic view of the cosmos.
Remember, our goal is the preservation of accurate history. Each world's legacy is a testament to its journey. We cannot afford errors, especially not from such a promising planet.
Xerath straightened, determination evident in his posture. I understand the gravity, Supervisor. Earth's true history will be retrieved and preserved. Of that I am certain. Glasu's gaze met Xerath's, a silent exchange of trust and expectation.
Very well. Proceed with your preparations, librarian, and may your quest for truth be successful.
With a respectful nod, Xerath turned, exiting the offices with a newfound sense of purpose, the weight of the mission pressing upon him. Xerath's personal chamber in the Galactic Library was an efficient space, though not devoid of aesthetics. The curved walls were adorned with geometric patterns, softly glowing with harmonious colours. His desk was sleek, filled with integrated technology that interfaced with the library's main systems. Beyond a large transparent window, stars and distant galaxies filled the horizon, their timeless dance a constant source of inspiration. He settled into his chair, the material conforming to his body, providing perfect support. In front of him, the holographic screens came to life, displaying the protocols and initial records related to Earth. Glasu's words echoed in his mind, reminding him of the challenge that lay ahead. He began to study the basic information about Earth, its geography, climate, and dominant species. Humans, they were called, a species marked by their ingenuity and adaptability. The records contained high-level summaries of their history, filled with wars, peace, inventions, discovery, cultures, and art. Something, however, nagged at Xerath's consciousness. The more he read, the more he sensed an underlying complexity that seemed just beyond his grasp. The contradictions that Glasu had mentioned began to surface, subtle at first, then more pronounced. An interactive AI assistant, specifically designed to aid librarians, chimed in, its voice neutral and informative. Librarian Xerath, would you like assistance in cross-referencing the data? Xerath looked up, considering the offer. Yes. Initiate cross-referencing for the Earth records. Look for inconsistencies in dates, events, and figures. The AI's voice acknowledged the command. Cross-referencing initiated. This may take some time due to the extensive nature of Earth's history. Xerath nodded, his focus turning to the equipment checks. A holographic panel displayed the status of his travel pod, communication devices, translation modules, and data retrieval systems. Everything appeared to be in perfect working order. As he worked, the AI continued its analysis in the background. Time passed, and Zerant felt a growing connection to Earth, a curiosity to unravel the mysteries that seemed to permeate his history. The more he prepared, the more the task at hand felt like more than just another assignment. Finally, the AI broke the silence. Cross-referencing complete. Multiple inconsistencies detected. Some may be due to errors in data transmission, while others appear more complex. Zerant's eyes narrowed. His intrigue piqued. Complex? Explain. The AI's tone remained impassive. Several events are recorded differently in various sources. Figures are attributed with varying roles, and some dates conflict with others. It is possible that the contradictions are not merely errors, but represent a deeper inconsistency within Earth's historical records. A chill ran down Zerant's spine. The challenge now lay bare before him. The task was no longer just a retrieval mission. It was a puzzle, a riddle wrapped in the very fabric of Earth's history. He leaned back, gazing at the distant stars, a firm resolve settling within him. Earth was not just another planet. It was an enigma waiting to be solved. "Prepare all systems for departure," he commanded, his voice filled with determination. "We have a truth to uncover." The AI confirmed. "All systems ready for departure. Librarian Zenrath." He stood, a final glance at the screens, assuring him that everything was in order. Earth awaited, and with it a journey into the unknown, into the very heart of contradiction and complexity. His mind was clear, his purpose defined. The history of Earth would be known, his true legacy preserved. The travel pod hummed softly in the background as Zenrath gazed out of the viewport. The blue-green sphere of Earth beckoned below. Its history seemed to be a fascinating enigma, a plethora of intertwined narratives. He mentally prepared himself for the deep dive into Earth's many stories. "I believe I'll start with this event," Zenrath mused aloud, fingers dancing over the holographic controls, bringing up the details of a specific event. Julius Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon. The AI assistant efficiently displayed the primary sources available. "Retrieving primary sources related to Julius Caesar and the Rubicon. Please wait." Several passages from different Earth texts appeared, each presenting a slightly different account of the same event. The first account stated, "Caesar, in a deliberate act of defiance against the Senate, crossed the Rubicon with a singular goal, personal power and glory." Another described, "Caesar, driven by a vision for a unified Rome, had no choice but to cross the Rubicon, a necessary act for the betterment of the empire." Yet another explained, "Julius Caesar's crossing was an unfortunate consequence of the Senate's relentless constraints on him, pushing him to a point of no return." Zerant furrowed his brows, perplexed. These accounts, they don't match. How can the same event be described in such varied tones? One portrays Caesar as power-hungry, another as a visionary, and yet another as a man cornered. The AI, devoid of any insight, responded in its usual neutral tone. "These are the available records, Librarian Zenrath. The data provided is based on the sources received." Zenrath leaned back in his seat, trying to align the different accounts. "There must be an error. Perhaps some of these sources were distorted during transmission." He pondered, trying to recall if any other planet's history he'd studied had shown such discrepancies. None came to mind. Turning his attention back to the holographic displays, Zenrath tried to discern a common thread, or an undeniable fact among the contradicting tales. "The act of crossing the Rubicon itself is consistent," he noted, "but the motivations, they're all over the place." The AI waited, ready to assist, but not providing any speculation of its own. Curiosity piqued, Zenrath decided to dive into another event to check if such inconsistencies were a recurrent theme. "Maybe the Caesar incident is an isolated case," he mumbled to himself, trying to maintain a rational outlook. Selecting a period from the mid-20th century, He brought up the records related to the Cuban Missile Crisis. The potential for such a planet-wide catastrophe had always intrigued him, and he was eager to understand the nuances of the event. As the details flooded the holographic display, he took a moment to familiarize himself with the key players: America, Russia, and Cuba. One account read, "The Soviets, in a clear act of aggression, placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, threatening world peace and forcing America to respond." Another offered, "America's previous actions and encroachments compelled the Soviets to defend their interests, leading to the missile placements in Cuba." Yet another angle presented, "Cuba, caught between the two superpowers, acted out of a sense of self-preservation and alliance loyalty." Zenrav's head tilted, perplexity evident. "Again," he muttered. "The same event, but each source highlights different motivations and actors." He glanced at the AI, his voice tinged with frustration. "Cross-reference these with any audio or video logs from that era. I need to see if there are any factual consistencies." The AI promptly pulled up several videos, news broadcasts, interviews, and speeches. Zenrav tentatively watched President Kennedy's address, Khrushchev's stern rebuttals, and Castro's impassioned speeches, yet the visuals and audios only seemed to add more layers to the already convoluted narrative. The situation was the same. The core event, the placing of missiles, was consistent, but the motivations, the reasons, the driving forces behind each nation's actions seemed fluid, shifting based on the source. Three events now, Zenrav thought. Julius Caesar's crossing and this missile crisis, and they all have multiple angles, each contradicting the other. It's as if each source is painting a picture they want to be seen rather than what happened. But he quickly dismissed the thought, reminding himself that history should be factual, an unbiased recounting of events. He felt an odd sensation, a combination of exasperation and a hunger to know more. "There must be a logical explanation," he said to himself. "I must be missing something." He decided to flag these events for further review, hoping that in time, with more research, the reasons for these conflicting narratives would become clear. For now, though, the mystery only deepened. Amid the soft glows of the hologram, Zenrav sat, surrounded by the echoes of Earth's past. He tried to reconcile the evident discrepancies. He was a seasoned librarian, well versed in deciphering histories of numerous civilizations, yet Earth's records seemed to challenge his every known protocol. "Maybe I've been approaching this all wrong," he said to himself. His mind raced for a checklist of potential reasons for the inconsistencies. Perhaps data corruption during transmission, maybe inadvertent errors during their collection process, but the differences in narratives didn't appear as mere errors. They were too structured, too nuanced. Heaving a sigh, he finally voiced the idea that had been nudging at the back of his mind. "AI, is there a local historian or an expert on Earth history I could consult?" The AI, always swift, responded, "There is Dr. Alania Hart, a professor at the University of New York and a specialist in Earth's diverse historical narratives. Would you like me to arrange a consultation?" "Yes," Zenrav replied, appreciating the AI's efficiency. "But first send her an overview of my findings, emphasizing the areas of inconsistencies. I'd like her to be prepared for our discussion." The AI acknowledged, and a gentle ping indicated the message had been dispatched. Taking a moment, Zenrav contemplated the vastness of Earth from his viewport. The blue-green orb seemed serene, so contrary to the whirlwind of narratives from its past. It was almost as if the planet held a secret, a coded way of preserving its history, one that eluded outsiders. Deciding to take a break, Zenrav moved to the travel pod's relaxation bay. As he reclined, he thought about the upcoming interaction with Dr. Hart. Would she be able to untangle the web of narratives? Or would she just add another layer to the enigma? Feeling the gentle thrum of the pod, Zenrav found solace in knowing that soon he'd be face to face with someone who might offer clarity. He hoped that, through this human connection, The mysterious puzzle pieces of Earth's history might finally fall into place. Dr. Elena Hart's office at the University of New York was spacious and ornate, lined with bookshelves filled with an array of books and journals. It was an eclectic mix, from leather-bound ancient text to modern holographic modules. The room bore the aura of age and wisdom. At one end of her office, behind a polished wooden desk, sat Dr. Hart. She was engrossed in a manuscript when a soft chime indicated the arrival of a visitor. Xerath, standing at the entrance, hesitated for a moment. With a body language more fluid than most species, the librarian took a moment to appreciate the trove of knowledge he was standing amidst. His free eyes, radiating a mild luminescent blue, scanned the room, before focusing on Dr. Hart. "Dr. Elena Hart?" Xerath inquired, his voice musical yet firm. Dr. Hart looked up, her grey eyes meeting Xerath's with curiosity. "Yes, that's me. And you must be the librarian from the Intergalactic Council. Xerath, isn't it?" "That's correct," Xerath replied, advancing into the room. "Thank you for seeing me on such short notice." Dr. Hart smiled warmly, gesturing to a chair opposite her. "When a being from the Intergalactic Council has questions about Earth's history, it piques my interest. Please, have a seat." Xerath glided into the chair, the movement almost serpentine. "I've been studying Earth's historical records, and I've encountered discrepancies," he began, looking earnestly at Dr. Hart. Dr. Hart nodded, her eyes sharp. "That doesn't surprise me. History, especially when it comes to human history, is rarely linear. What seems to be the issue?" Xerath's facial tendrils twitched slightly, a sign of his distress. "I've always believed that for a species to progress, they must have an accurate account of their past. But your records, they contradict each other." Dr. Hart leaned back, taking a deep breath. "History, as written by humans, is an amalgamation of perspectives. It's not just about what happened, it's about who tells the story. Think of it this way," she said, her voice calm and explaining. "If only one voice, one perspective defined our history, wouldn't that create a single point of failure?" Xerath tilted his head, processing. "A single point of failure?" "Yes," Dr. Hart continued. "One voice can be biased, misinformed, or have hidden agendas. By allowing multiple voices, we acknowledge the biases, but also get a fuller picture. This doesn't mean we accept all versions as the absolute truth, but rather understand that truth might lie somewhere in the middle." Xerath's eyes dimmed slightly, reflecting deep contemplation. "So it's not an error, but a design?" "Not intentionally designed, but it evolved this way. It's a reflection of our nature, diverse, contradictory, and always striving for understanding." Dr. Hart chuckled. "Come with me. I've only got half a period before my next lecture, and I need some coffee." The campus grounds bustled with activity. Students hurried to classes. Researchers discussed recent findings under shaded trees, and the distant hum of a lecture could be faintly heard. Dr. Hart led Xerath to an outdoor cafe that overlooked a serene pond, teeming with ducks and shimmering fish. They found a secluded corner and settled down, a hollow menu hovering before them. "Order anything you'd like," Dr. Hart said, her eyes splitting through the menu. Xerath hesitated, his tendrils gently waving over the hollow menu. "The herbal infusion sounds intriguing," he decided. Moments later, a robotic server placed 2 steaming cups before them. Dr. Hart delicately sipped her drink, while Xerath allowed the steam to waft over his facial tendrils, absorbing the aroma. "Earlier you mentioned multiple perspectives," Xerath began. "But how do humans reconcile these differing views? How do you ensure that these various stories don't lead to confusion or conflict?" Dr. Hart looked out at the pond, taking a moment before answering. "It's a valid concern, and to be frank, it often does lead to confusion and even conflict. But it's important to understand that these conflicts, in many cases, have spurred some of our greatest advancements in thought and understanding." She continued, Take the Renaissance period, for instance. The surge of art, culture, and philosophy that bloomed during that time was, in many ways, a result of the collision of differing ideas and perspectives. Xerath leaned in closer, intrigued. You're saying the tension between opposing views has value? Dr. Hart nodded. Exactly. When two opposing ideas clash, it forces us to evaluate our beliefs, refine our arguments, and ultimately, it can lead to a deeper understanding. It's like... She paused, searching for the right analogy. Sharpening a blade. Two opposing forces grind against each other, and the result is a sharper, more refined edge. Xerath took a moment to process, his eyes dimming in thought. I understand the concept, but doesn't this approach also lead to societal fractures? Divisions? Dr. Hart sighed. Yes, it can, and it has. But that's where the importance of dialogue and education comes in. We teach our young the value of understanding different perspectives, not necessarily to agree, but to empathize, to find common ground amidst the differences. Xerath's facial tendrils rippled, indicating his growing understanding. It's a delicate balance, he remarked. Dr. Hart smiled, her eyes crinkling warmly. Very much so, and it's a balance we're still learning to maintain. But as long as we keep the channels of communication open, there's hope. Now, have you gotten to Herodotus yet?